You're watching Northern Crimes.
It's the winter of 1985. The cold settles early over Lewis County, Washington. Snow blankets the landscape. The surrounding hills look like a Christmas card, but beneath winter's surface, something far darker is taking shape. Ed and Minnie Maurin have no idea they're being watched. At 81 and 83 years old, the couple embodies small-town America. Their Christmas tree farm along Highway 12 in Ethel is a seasonal landmark, drawing families each December in search for the perfect tree. Row after row of carefully shaped evergreens stand as a testament to decades of steady work. But it isn't just the trees attracting attention. Everyone in the county knows the Maurins are comfortable financially. Bank statements tucked around their modest farmhouse reveal multiple accounts, the product of a lifetime of saving. In a region where jobs are scarce and poverty common, that knowledge makes them a target. Despite their quiet wealth, Ed and Minnie live simply. They're described by neighbors as, quote, everybody's grandparents, the kind of people whose routines reflect decades of marriage and trust in their community. What once felt like peaceful retirement is, in truth, isolation that leaves them exposed. Each season, the farm hires temporary workers, some steady, some unreliable. These laborers see the inside of the Maurin home, their daily rhythms, and their vulnerability. Among them are two brothers whose names will later terrify Lewis County, but for now, they remain just shadows on the periphery. The Maurins' trusting nature is the final piece of the puzzle. In a place where handshakes often serve as contracts, they have no reason to suspect that trust will be used against them. Even the prominence of their family adds to the risk. Minnie's son, Dennis Hadler, runs one of the largest logging companies in the Northwest, and the Hadler name is well known throughout the region. By December 1985, the Maurins are preparing for what should be just another Christmas season. The fields are ready, their home is warm, their savings intact. But they cannot see the predators circling, drawn by the promise of easy money and defenseless victims. What looks like another Christmas season is, in fact, the calm before one of Lewis County's darkest events. This is Northern Crimes. December 19th, 1985. The day begins cold and gray, with a bitter wind sweeping across the valley. For Ed and Minnie Maurin, the morning follows a familiar rhythm, until two strangers force their way into the farmhouse and shatter that peace. The intruders ransack the home, scattering bank statements across the floor. Minnie's purse, which she never leaves behind, remains tucked behind the couch. A silent clue something is terribly wrong. What the attackers quickly discover is what many criminals don't realize. The Maurins don't keep cash at home. Their money is in the bank, and this forces the intruders to improvise. Under duress, Ed Maurin makes a calm but fateful call to his bank. Without revealing his terror, he requests a withdrawal of $8,500 in cash. It's an ordinary request delivered under extraordinary circumstances, and it will haunt investigators for decades. The crime now escalates. The attackers load Ed and Minnie into their own 1969 Chrysler Newport and drive them through Chehalis. The car is recognized by several locals who later provide key testimony. To witnesses, it looks as though Ed is at the wheel with Minnie beside him, but there's something unsettling about the scene, a shadowy presence in the back seat, watching. At the bank, Ed retrieves the money. A teller recalls his nervousness as he hurried back to the car, where she noticed another figure inside but couldn't see clearly. The withdrawal gives the attackers what they wanted, but it also creates a deadly problem: 2 witnesses who can identify them. The Chrysler heads out of Chehalis and into the labyrinth of logging roads that crisscross the county's forests. For Ed and Minnie, lifelong residents who know these roads well, dread must have set in. They likely understood with chilling clarity what awaited them in the wilderness ahead. The logging road where it happens is like thousands across Lewis County, remote, silent, and perfect for someone who doesn't want to be found. What occurs there remains partly hidden, known only to the killers and their victims, but the evidence tells a story of brutality. Ed and Minnie Maurin, who had harmed no one in their long lives, are executed at close range with a 12-gauge shotgun. Minnie is struck in the shoulder and neck. Ed is shot square in the back. Neither has a chance to escape. Their bodies are dragged from the Chrysler and left along the roadside, abandoned without dignity. The killers, showing no concern for discovery, drive the blood-soaked car back into town and abandon it in the Yardbird Shopping Center parking lot. Overnight, while families shop for Christmas, the vehicle sits unnoticed, hiding a violent secret under a red blanket. December 20th passes without alarm. The Maurins are independent, and a day of silence doesn't really seem unusual. But by evening, their absence is raising concern. Dennis Hadler, Minnie's son, drives to their home and finds bank papers scattered across the house, his mother's purse behind the couch, and their Chrysler missing. He contacts the sheriff's office immediately. Throughout the night, deputies and volunteers search the back roads of Ethel. At dawn the next day, a report comes in. The Chrysler has been found at Yardbirds. Investigators look inside and confront a nightmare. Blood covers the seats, dashboard, and floor. Shotgun pellet damage scars the interior. Ed's familiar hat lies abandoned on the floorboard. The blanket across the front seat hides what is no longer there: the victims' bodies. The grim discovery transforms the search into a homicide investigation. For 3 days, volunteers and deputies scour the endless tangle of logging roads. The sheer volume of blood leaves little hope of survival. On December 24th, those fears are confirmed. On December 24th, as families across Lewis County prepare for Christmas Eve, a call comes into the sheriff's office. A man driving a logging road has spotted what he thinks is a discarded CPR dummy, but it isn't. The bodies of Ed and Minnie are lying in the cold snow 5 days after they vanished. Both showed devastating shotgun wounds. Minnie struck in the shoulder and neck, and Ed shot in the back. Drag marks in the dirt reveal how the killers pulled them from the Chrysler and left them without care. What should have been a night of celebration becomes one of the darkest holidays in county history. Detective David Neisser takes charge of what became one of Lewis County's most intensive homicide investigations. The crime scene offers little comfort. The casual disposal of the bodies shows a chilling disregard for human life. The murder appears less like a targeted execution than a callous step in a robbery gone wrong. Investigators face a maze of obstacles. Blood evidence is plentiful, but DNA testing in 1985 is very primitive. Dozens of fingerprints are lifted, but most belong to family or the victims themselves. Witnesses recall the Chrysler driving through Chehalis, but descriptions of the man in the back seat vary. Dark hair, scruffy beard, eyes that seem to burn with violence. A composite sketch emerges, but it could match countless men in a logging town. Attention turns to those who had worked the Maurin tree farm, people who knew the couple's routines in isolation. Detectives question seasonal laborers, probe alibis, and chase rumors. But as the new year arrives, promising leads dissolve. Witness memories blur, evidence stalls, and frustration mounts. What began as a case brimming with clues is already slipping toward the realm of the unsolved. The question isn't who killed Ed and Minnie Maurin. Investigators have their suspicions. The question is how to prove it. The late 1980s bring only silence. The Maurin murder file swells with reports and interviews, but no arrests. It becomes just another cold case that haunts investigators, one where suspicion outweighs proof. Yet, in Lewis County, whispers spread. In bars, logging camps, and around kitchen tables, the same names surface again and again. Rick and Greg Reif. Locals know the two brothers as small-time criminals, dabbling in drugs and petty theft. More importantly, they once worked on the Maurin Christmas tree farm. They knew the couple's routines, their isolation, and the rumors of their wealth. Detectives question the brothers multiple times, but no arrest follows. They deny involvement and offer shaky alibis. Then, not long after the murders, the Reifs leave Lewis County for Alaska. Many residents seek opportunity there in fishing and oil work, but the timing raises suspicion. For investigators, the move puts thousands of miles between suspects and crime scene and nearly buries the case. By the 1990s, frustration hardens into resignation. Witnesses age, memories fade, and the Reifs appear beyond reach. Retiring detectives carry the weight of knowing who likely committed the crime, but lacking evidence to prove it. For the family, there is no closure. Every holiday gathering is marked by the empty seats where Ed and Minnie should have been. The Christmas tree farm continues under new owners. Its rows of evergreens a reminder of both joy and loss. To the community, the murders hang like a shadow, a story told in hushed tones, a case too cold to solve. That is, until a new detective takes it on with fresh determination. In 2005, Detective Bruce Kimsey inherits the Maurin homicides. Determined to succeed where others failed, he immerses himself in the cold case, taking the files home to study at night until he knows them inside and out. What he discovers is that earlier investigators were limited not only by technology. Witness identifications had relied on grainy wallet-sized black and white photos. Kimsey tracks down the original color images, scans, and enlarges them. Suddenly, details leap into view that were invisible before. Armed with clearer photographs, Kimsey begins re-interviewing surviving witnesses. Many are elderly, but their memories lock onto the same two faces, Rick and Greg Reif. After 20 years, the identifications are steady and confident. And then comes the missing piece. Jake Shriver, 17 at the time of the murders, finally comes forward. He recalls riding with his mother along Highway 12 and recognizing Ed at the wheel of the Chrysler, Minnie beside him, and both Reif brothers in the back seat. He knew them personally. His certainty is absolute. Shriver admits he stayed silent for decades out of fear. Days after the murders, one of the Reifs warned him that if he spoke, he and his family would meet the same fate as the Maurins. That threat haunted him for years until he could no longer carry it. His testimony changes everything. Combined with the witness identifications and the Reifs' history with the Maurins, the case now has the clarity it once lacked. But one problem remains. Greg Reif is dead, having passed away in Alaska only a month before the breakthrough. And that leaves only Rick Reif to face justice. With time running out and their suspect in failing health, investigators know that this is their last chance to close the case. July 2012. Nearly 27 years after Ed and Minnie Maurin are killed, Detective Bruce Kimsey finally has the evidence to seek an arrest. With witness identification, Jake Shriver's testimony, and a timeline that matches the Rife brothers' movements, prosecutors agree to move forward. An arrest warrant is issued for Rick Rife. Kimsey travels to King Salmon, Alaska, a remote fishing village at the edge of the continent, to bring him back. When troopers arrive at Rife's modest home, they find a man unrecognizable from the violent figure described decades earlier. He's frail, tethered to an oxygen machine, suffering from emphysema. Yet when told he's under arrest for the Maurin murders, his response is calm.
"Well, looks like I'm gonna need my medications."
Extradited to Washington, Rife faces charges of murder, robbery, and kidnapping. The trial that follows grips Lewis County. Prosecutors present a story of two brothers desperate for drug money, who used their knowledge of the Maurins' routine to stage a robbery that turned into double murder. The key was eliminating witnesses. The evidence rests heavily on people who never forgot what they saw. Bank employees recall Ed's nervous withdrawal. Locals remember the Chrysler rolling through town with a dark presence in the back seat. And Shriver, finally free of fear, testifies that he recognized both Rife brothers that morning. His account of being threatened afterward underscores their guilt. Jurors also see the difference technology makes. Grainy black and white photos used in 1985 versus the sharp, enlarged color images Kimsey produced decades later. Witnesses who once hesitated now identify Rife without doubt. The defense argues that memories fade and time distorts perception, but prosecutors counter that the consistency of accounts, the corroborating evidence, and the brothers' flights to Alaska form a clear pattern. After 27 years, the case is no longer cold. It's ready for judgment. The courtroom is silent as the judge begins to read the jury's decision. Family members, neighbors, and law enforcement, many of whom have waited nearly 3 decades for this moment, sit frozen in their seats. Guilty of first-degree murder in the death of Ed Maurin. Guilty in the death of Minnie Maurin. Guilty of robbery. Guilty of kidnapping. One count after another. The verdict is clear. Rick Rife is responsible. Detective Kimsey, whose persistence revived the case, breaks down as the words echo through the courtroom. After 8 years of work and countless nights spent poring over files, he finally sees justice delivered for 2 people he never met but came to know intimately. He embraces the Maurin family, tears mixed with relief. Rife, pale and tethered to his oxygen machine, shows little reaction. The man who once instilled fear into witnesses listens quietly, as though the verdict was long expected. During sentencing, relatives speak of the hollow years between 1985 and now. Birthdays, holidays, and gatherings darkened by absence and unanswered questions. Dennis Hadler recalls the anguish of discovering his parents were missing and the toll decades of uncertainty took on his family. Rife is given life in prison, and given his failing health, it is a de facto death sentence. The man who showed no mercy to Ed and Minnie will die behind bars. For Lewis County, the verdict represents more than punishment for one man. It affirms that persistence can overcome decades of silence, and that victims, even when gone for years, are never forgotten. Nearly 4 decades later, Ed and Minnie Maurin are remembered not as victims, but as the hardworking, kind couple they were in life. Their Christmas tree farm brought joy to countless families, and their devotion to each other and their community remains their true legacy. Detective Kimsey's work proved that even cold cases can be solved with persistence and fresh perspective. For the people of Lewis County, the case is more than just a story of violence. It's a reminder of resilience, of a community that refused to forget, and the power of one detective's determination to honor 2 lives cut short. The evergreens of Lewis County continue to grow, witnesses to the passage of time. Their branches stand as living monuments to Ed and Minnie Maurin, 2 lives stolen in winter, but never lost from memory. Hey, on that note, I'm wishing all of you, all my amazing subscribers, all my Patreon supporters, a wonderful Christmas. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody's support, and I will see you in the new year.